Alrighty guys, what is up? Welcome back to another episode of Project Architect with Lone Debater 7, and today we are going to be automating the crafting of all of Powah. Reactors, crystals, rods, cables, batteries, all the like, with refined storage. First things first, I want to show you what we did since last time. So I've got this pump, or this quarry with a pump card getting us water into our computer. That's right, we are pouring water in our computer, boyos. That's right, we've got these special fluid storage discs that you can EMC out. They're 4.5 million each, but they hold just like an insane amount of water or any other type of fluid or liquid. So that receiver right there is connected to the nether. I also have another RF Tools builder with a pump card in the nether gathering us lava out of basically a gigantic lava lake that I found in the nether. I set up a pump up there as well. So we've got water, lava, and electrum, I believe is all the liquid we've got in our computer right now. I do have a fluid grid. That's fine. Not a big deal. Main thing is Powah. That's right, boyos. We've been talking about it for a while. We wanted to automate the Powah mod because it's amazing as far as power generation is concerned. Especially the reactor blocks, like those are very powerful as far as how much RF per tick you get out of them. It is just bonkers. You can fill one of those gargantuan storages from Flux networks, right? That storage block, the biggest size storage, 128 million RF. You can fill one of those in like less than 2 seconds with one of the reactors from this mod. So that just gives you an idea of how insane the power generation gets. Now, in order to actually build all this, we need to do some energizing. Now, if you've played with this mod, you know what an energizer is. Basically, an energizer is a pedestal that you put a set of items onto, and then you inject it with energy or power or RF or FE, whatever you're familiar with in modded Minecraft. You inject that into those items, and it converts it into a different item for you. So this is how this mod generates its own items. So there's basic crafting recipes. So like all the capacitors are just basic recipes. So to automate those, we just make a pattern, a crafting pattern with these items. Craft like this will give us this item, and the computer will be able to build this if we put these in a crafter. Pretty easy. So you can go ahead and do that. We do need to get some uranite in order to run the reactors once we do that. But let's go ahead and get a processing pattern set up. We could do this for uranite processing. I don't know if we actually need to do this. Well, it has EMC. Probably not. We probably don't need to do this. That's fine. Yeah. Well, let me just show you. So if you make a mistake when you're building your patterns and you decide, oh, hey, I actually don't want that pattern. You know what you do? You clear. You take this pattern that you don't want, right? So I don't want that pattern right there. So I just swap that with the stack. And then I pick a different recipe that I do want the pattern for, like these cables. Yeah, I would love to be able to automatically craft 12 of these cables with these hardened capacitors and energized steel. Sure, let's go for it. But easy like that. It'll overwrite the pattern. You don't have to waste anything. So that's how I deal with it. That's how you can deal with it inside of the crafting or pattern grid. Sorry. Let's go ahead and get the rest of these cable patterns created. So easy enough, since we have the computer terminal and JEI is integrated into it, if you save the recipes on the side, you can just click on it and then click the plus sign inside of this window to move the items. It'll put it in a pattern grid. You hit the pattern copy button, and bada bing, bada boom, you've got a pattern to make that item. It's pretty easy. Now, granted, you have to have a crafter with an open crafting slot for each of these patterns. So, like, we almost have a full inventory of complete patterns, right? So, yeah. Oh, we don't actually have uranite. We haven't processed any. I wonder, I should have some, though. Yeah, I do have some. We'll just grab one. And if I go downstairs, I think we'll just throw it in the furnace. It doesn't matter. It's EMCable, and we've got 54 million. That's enough. We can pull this out. And in fact, I believe I have an RF tools dimension with uranite ore, or a dim lit with uranite ore as the block. So I could make a dimension for it if I really need it. But no worries. Let's go ahead and make these patterns. So first here is reactor basic, and reactor basic and reactor starter are EMCable. So we really only have to do the recipe once. Excuse me. So sorry, those particular recipes, we maybe don't need a pattern for because we can just teach it to the table. So we're going to do that instead. But for the rest of these, where it uses non-EMC'd items, we need a pattern so we can auto-craft it so I don't have to go grab the items and make them myself. The computer can do it all for you. You just type in what you want, you say how many you want, you hit start, and then it'll do it for you. So we need to get some energizing rods in order to actually do the energizing, to make the energized steel and the various crystals that are used to complete the recipes in the mod. So if you do @Powah is the mod name, you can look up every item from that mod that's in the game. So that's the pattern to build the energizing orb pattern. We don't really need that because we're only going to build one to begin with, and I don't really need to auto-craft those because they're EMCable. So we're going to build it right here. Perfect. Grab two. And then, so I did change the priority on my EMC link since last time. That way I can just drop items into the computer and have it teach it to my table. It makes it a lot faster. But yeah, so we went ahead and did that. We've got our Energizer now, or our energizing table. So that's what we're going to pump items into. And then these recipes for energizing, as you can see, it takes a gold and an iron to get two of them when you put it on the Energizer. So if you switch your pattern grid to processing mode, and in fact, I believe it automatically does it in this mod pack. It'll automatically switch it when you put in a processing recipe instead of a crafting recipe. You go ahead and make a pattern for each of these because you're going to have to make each of these. Not a big deal. And they'll all go inside of the same crafter, and that crafter will be inserting items into the Energizer. Okay? So that's the basic idea of what we're trying to do. Now, it's a little bit more complex than that because you can only insert one item at a time. So as you can see, I've got my yellow crafter into the floor right here, and then I can put my energizing orb on top, and I can drop in the patterns for that particular process right inside of that crafter, and we can automate it. Pretty straightforward, pretty straightforward. So what we could have done instead of walking over to this machine is we could have used the crafting manager terminal that was directly below the pattern grid that we were using, and that would have allowed us to grab that particular, drop the patterns into that particular crafter remotely, but that's fine. So we put an importer on top because that's going to take the energized steel out of the energizing orb, right? That table. So once it's done being whatever items are in there are done being energized, the importer will put that back into our computer. So we'll have it available for future autocrafts or just to store whatever the intent is after it's done. So basically, you need to have a way to limit the number of items that are put into the table because unlike Draconic Evolution, there is not a stack mode for Powah. It's you put in 1 iron, 1 gold, you wait until it's done, and then you put in the next set. If you put in 2 iron and 2 gold, it's not going to do anything. So using a comparator and some redstone circuitry, we can get this to be completely automatic. So I can just hop into the computer, say, hey, good computer, make me, 36 nitro reactors, and I can pull them out of the computer after maybe a minute or two once all the items are done being energized to make those blocks. But yeah, to actually get that to happen, it's a little bit more work. So we're going to go through and try to figure it out. So I believe it's redstone pulse inserts. The next set is what we're going to need on the crafter because that is where the items are being put into the block from. Since that's where the recipe, that's where the request is coming from. That's where the input is. So if we put a comparator here, what this block will do is when the block is full, it will have a signal. When the block is empty, it won't have a signal. Or well, let's put it down and I can show you what it does. Let's grab some energizers because it's fine. I want to be able to send something in on a recipe so we can do this. So let's just grab a few of these. These are the like basic tier energizers, which are EMCable. So you can get started with this, and in fact, you can do all of it with just the basic tier. It just will take a really long time for the high, like the emeralds and the diamonds and stuff. When you energize those, you need a lot more RF per tick injected into, or just RF in general. Like they take millions as opposed to just like, maybe a few thousand. So having the next tier up in energizing rod is really worth doing because it increases the amount of transfer. It increases the transfer limit basically. But as you can see, using the crafting manager, those crafters we just placed downstairs, I can drop in my patterns from my backpack right into those crafters remotely. Now, this is convenient if you're making recipes after you place the crafters down, or if you want to localize it. So let's say I wanted to have all of my auto crafting done in a separate RF tools dimension. I could go to that RF tools dimension, put in a network receiver, and basically connect that to my main network here in the overworld. And using the crafting manager, any crafters, including processing crafters, so things connected to like smelters or other machines, I'd be able to access from this location in the game, which is pretty cool. It's like refined storage is amazing because of how easy it is to do wireless and auto crafting in particular. Like Applied Energistics 2 is a fantastic mod, but it is a way more complicated to get stuff, automated with Applied Energistics 2, in my experience. So I prefer refined storage. I'm glad that it's in this pack. But anyway, we've got our basic rods. Cool. We'll grab a few of them so it goes quickly. And what you do is you grab a cable, you put it on this battery. I'm just using a battery as a buffer because I believe that it just kind of makes sense. That way, if I need 1,000,000 RF, I'll have it all here already when I make the craft, as opposed to having to wait for the network to send it or for the network to generate it. So like if that battery is full, I think it holds 1,000,000 RF or something like that. So if I put these here, they should still reach the energizing table that's upstairs, because that energizing table is a 9x9 area of blocks nearby. You can put energizing rods and it will send. So that includes, up and down, as well as left and right. So we could potentially put down a lot of these rods and everything. The only downside with these is once they start charging, like they are in my main hand right now, they will hold their power. They're no longer EMCable, and you can't use them to craft the next tier up of energizing rod. So, yeah, that's the only downside. So what'll end up happening is we're going to have some low tier, some mid tier, some high tier, until I get the best quality best quality energizing rod and cable available, and do that. But this is what energizing looks like. So you put down those rods, you have your table, you put in the 2 items, and then it will spit out your finished product, which in this case is 2 energized steel. When that is done, the comparator will put out a signal. So basically, when the container is empty, the comparator won't send a signal. When the container has an item inside of it, it will send a signal. So basically what we need to do is whenever this comparator switches state from on to off, I need the crafter to send in the next set of items for the recipe. That's what needs to happen. So all I really need here is a comparator, and then I think I need an inverter gate is what I need to have. Or not an inverter gate, I need a pulse repeater. So crafter mode, so I had it set right. Yeah. Hey everybody, just in case you didn't know, this is future Lone Debater 7, who's doing all the editing. Low key. Yeah. I basically am going to try to troubleshoot this and see if I can figure it out. And I do figure it out, and we're going to show it time-lapse with some music because it takes me a while. So don't worry if you want to watch some Redstone troubleshooting, you're in luck because that's what's about to happen here. And we do get it all automated, and we get some more crafting done, and trust me, by the end of the episode, we will have power set up. The reason why I'm doing it as a time-lapse is because I actually want to be able to, cover the Powah mod as opposed to, this is how I got the specific redstone to work, or how long it took me to figure it out, because not a big deal. So anyway, guys, I will see you on the other side of this time lapse, and we'll explain exactly how I have this connected so it's automatically crafting all the energizing recipes on the other side. See you on the other end. Alrighty, guys, we're back, and we've got auto crafting set up for the Energizer. So here we go. This is the setup. I kind of adjusted things a little bit. So we've got a NOT gate out on the comparator into a pulse former, and that feeds into our crafter, which is set to pulse inserts next set. And this has fixed our problem. So basically, we needed to invert the comparator and then form a pulse off of that signal. So the pulse former forms the pulse. The block with the redstone torch in front of the comparator inverts the comparator output signal. But anyway, here's our crafting monitor, which will display all of the crafts that are going on automatically by our computer. Look at this. So fancy. So great. Well, I mean, it's all right. No worries. But we're up to the blazing tier. That's right. Blaze-a-rooney. On the energizing rods. That means we are middle of the road as far as the RF transfer limit for this particular setup is concerned. So we still have 2 more tiers to go. So we have the, I want to say it's Niotic, and then it's Spirited is the Emerald-based tier, and then it's Nitro after that. We'll take a look at that. We're going to build all of it. That way you guys can see. But as opposed to building all of this by hand, which is definitely something you can do in this mod, no worries. If that is a little bit easier for you, go for it. No problem. What I would suggest is just trying to upgrade maybe 9 of the energizing rods at a time, or have 9 of those powering your energizing orb or your energizing table, because it will make it go a lot faster for you, especially when you get to the later tier items. You have to build the earlier tier items in order to make the later tier items. So it can take quite a while if you're limited on how much RF you can transfer because you didn't upgrade your rods when you could. So basically what I'm doing at this point is we're going to go up to spirited tier rods, and then we're going to build our reactors after that, because we'll then be able to kind of churn them out relatively quickly with the automated system. It's also good to have the infrastructure in place, because if we decide we want to build more reactors in the future, then when we request them, they will be made a lot faster. I also plan on upgrading the energy cell that's in the relevant part. So as you can see, if we go to the blazing energy cell right here, we'll be able to store 10 million RF, and it increases the transfer rate to match the cables, which is 5,000 per tick, I believe. Or actually, it might be a little more. Let's see. We'll take a look. I know it's faster than the hardened ones. I'm not sure how much faster, though. But that's okay. Not a big deal. It'll take about, 30 seconds or so for the computer to build all of this. But if you think about it, if I was having to stand by the table and click in all of these items, I doubt I'd be able to build this in 30 seconds by hand. Like, no way, no how. And I have played a decent amount of modded Minecraft in my time. But anyway, let's see. While we're waiting for that to happen, I don't know. We've got all of these rods in our inventory. I'm not, I guess I could go place those down so this goes faster, because that literally is the limiting factor on that crafting timer, and that will get pushed back. It's really longer than 30 seconds. That's how much crafting time is left. There's more than that amount of time left because we're also energizing items, which takes significantly longer depending on what you're energizing. But let's break this energy cell basic, or actually we'll just put the blazing energy cell next to the basic one. So it can hold 10 million FE, that's pretty good. If we set the west mode to extract? No. I think it needs to be... This one needs to be... That one needs to be extract, this one needs to be received. There we go. Okay, perfect. The rest, I think, are set to either or, which is perfectly fine for what we're trying to do. And we're just going to line out the 6 cables that we built, and we're going to place down these rods right here, and we're going to leave the old tier rods up as well, because really it does not hurt us to do that. In fact, it makes our system charge ever so slightly faster, even though probably one of these next tier up rods will do the same as the entire battery of lower tier energizing rods, we can't EMC them away, so they're kind of worthless otherwise. They just take up space on my hard drive in my refined storage system. So might as well place them down because it does technically make a difference. But as you can see, when you go to the niotic tier, which is diamond energizing, it's 300,000 RF per item that you're energizing, as opposed to 100,000 when you're at the blazing tier versus the 10,000 it costs at the hardened tier. So it scales up exponentially in how much energy you have to deliver to the items in order to build the next set of energized material, right? So setting up an automated crafting system such as this is worth doing, I believe, for this mod, because it's relatively, otherwise it will take you a very long time to make all the items. This way I can just queue it up, and in fact I could just queue up the next tier of items, but what I'm trying to do is get up to the spirited tier of energizing rods, and we're going to place those down, and then we'll go from there. I'm gonna go, I might stop at the niotic tier energy cell, however, just because yeah, it takes a while to build each of these, because we need not only the 4 niotic crystals, but we also need the blazing crystals to make the tier lower energy cell, right? Or energizing rod. They require, so you need 4 of the one you're trying to build, plus 12 or 16 of the one of the tier before that you were trying to build. So it scales exponentially in difficulty and craft count and item requirement on each tier you go up as well. So it's a pretty awesome mod, and that's why this mod gets so insanely powerful when you upgrade everything all the way. But doing it with refined storage makes upgrading everything easy. Like, realistically speaking, the amount of work I had to do was figure out how to get that redstone done, since I did it for you and showed you. Drop a like down below if that helped you out. And yeah, just use that. And you can literally set it your computer if you have the patterns inside of your computer crafters or what have you. And you can get all of this made by just simply clicking a few buttons inside of your computer. You just go on the recipe, say craft me X amount of whatever you're trying to build, and it'll make it for you. It might take you a while if you don't have upgraded infrastructure, but hey, you know, if you just want to let it set, go out and adventure for a while, and then come back and have it be ready for you, this is the way to do that. The way I'm doing it right now, I'm constantly upgrading my system as new items come in that will allow me to do it. So first I needed the niotic tier energy cables in order to even utilize the transfer speed of the niotic tier energy rods, because if I utilize the blazing tier energy cables with the niotic rods, they would be limited by the 5,000 RF per tick transfer limit, or 3K RF a tick versus whatever it is. I forget what the niotic tier is, what have you. But no worries. There's a difference there, and it limits it by a few thousand RF a tick, which maybe doesn't sound like a lot, but when it's over 9 items and you're trying to do hundreds of thousands, 3,000 times 9 is almost 30,000 RF a tick that you're missing out on if you were to upgrade the cable first. So it's worth upgrading the cable first. Oh, we ran out of power. Yay! No power. No, that's a little bit less of a yay. I think what happened is I basically drained everything trying to fill up these batteries, because we have more storage available in these batteries than we can hold in our flux network right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a flux plug and set this to our main, disable the limit, and we're going to put this to receive extract, and this one is already set to that, and that will resupply our flux network, which will turn on our computer again. What we need to do is we need to just build a reactor of some sort so we can get some power, or we need to maybe we'll just start with a hardened tier reactor or something like that, because we could do that. It won't cost as much. So all the patterns that I have in my inventory right now are required to go up to the nitro tier. So in the energizing orb, you need to put in the nitro crystal pattern. And regular crafters, you need to put the nitro capacitor, redstone block, blazing crystal block, and then the nitro rod, energy cell, what have you, whatever nitro tier item you're trying to build. But yeah, so let's go ahead and build. I mean, we could go. Maybe we'll build one of each. That might be kind of cool. Let's see how many items it would take to build 36 of these. 133. That is a lot. That will take a long time with our current setup. Let's go ahead and do the hardened reactor first. That should go pretty quick. It's still 92, I think, energized steel. Like, we can take a look here, but that will go relatively quickly because energized steel is almost an instant charge or instant energizing with our current level of charge in that infrastructure that we've set up downstairs. So here we go. We've got 28 left. It shouldn't take too long. I mean, it says its max extract is 160k. It holds 10 million, 840 per tick generation factor. So I'm wondering if it'll probably do maybe like 10k, 8 to 10k. I feel like. I don't know. We'll take a look once we get it actually set up. And I want to set one of these up anyway because we can automate with refined storage the cooling, the fuel, and the redstone and coal and ice insert in order to make sure the reactor is A, running as efficiently as possible and as far as fuel consumption is concerned, and B, is producing as much power as possible. Because by injecting the secondary items, you can improve fuel efficiency, or decrease fuel burn, or increase fuel burn time, so your fuel lasts longer, and you can also increase the amount of RF that's generated per tick by inserting redstone. So, and coal, I believe. I think those two modify that, and then if you use the ice with water, you can decrease the fuel consumption. So we're going to do both. We're just going to put a flux plug back in so we can re-energize our system. I'm just going to set a limit, though, at 2500 because that will slow trickle this system, which should be just enough to maintain the 100k or so that's in the battery and allow us to get this reactor set up and keep the computer on until we do. So there's that. We're going to need some exporters. We could just... No, I'm not going to set to craft that yet. Let's go ahead and get the niotic rods built. So we'll just do 8 of them. That's fine. Get that started while we build the rest. So this stuff is all good. It'll just take some time and some power. Lol. But let's try to place this down. So when you have the 36 blocks in your inventory, you get this little interface on the floor. That's showing you where it's going to place down. So I think I kind of want to put it maybe like right here. Then I could sit one right next to it. Or I could do it right in line with the floor. I think we maybe put it back in the corner here. Yeah, I think that's going to be a little bit better. Perfect. So when you right click, it's going to automatically build the structure. It's pretty cool. It places down the blocks. Boom, boom, boom. You don't have to do anything. You just have to make the blocks, which is fantastic because sometimes building the interior structure is complicated. And then pretty much you can attach to any of these blocks as I understand it. So we place down our niotic tier energy cell because that is the best tier energy storage we can build with this particular mod. But if we dig out under the floor beneath our reactor, we can put our import-export stuff right here. And really I believe it's 2 importers or 2 exporters is all we need. No, it's 2 importers, so a fluid importer and an item importer. So if I take a water bucket and put that in the fluid importer, it's going to import the water that we have been pumping into our computer. So remember how I showed you we used the RF Tools builder with the pump card to get water? That's why we did that, so we can automate this. We're going to take redstone. We're going to take coal, or well, I think I grabbed charcoal there, but you can use any carbon material, so it can be charcoal, it can be coal, it can be wood, I believe, even. I think I end up switching it to coal just because it doesn't actually make a difference. They all burn the same. So realistically speaking, charcoal is the best for you because it's slightly less in EMC cost than when compared to coal, but it gives you the same amount of burn increase as coal. So you don't need importers, you need exporters. So one's going to be an item importer, or one is going to be an item exporter that's going to have redstone. It's going to have coal or charcoal. It's going to have and such, right? And then your second one is going to be a fluid exporter that's going to have water. You take a bucket of water, click the bucket of water when you have the fluid exporter open, and it'll put in water, and that will do the fluid water from your computer. I'm going to use ice because I know it takes ice. I don't know if it'll take the packed ice or the blue ice, which is just compressed variants of ice. So in theory, if it can, it would maybe last longer for each block. But now all I got to do is take this cable, run this over to the cable that's already connected to our Energizer because refined storage makes that easy. And boom, those items will start going in. Now we can speed this up with stack and speed upgrades on the exporters to make it go faster. We also need to put uranite in there. I want to try it instead of ice. I want to see if it will take this blue ice that I've got. Just because, I mean, yeah, it'll go in the inventory. All right, so maybe that'll be slightly better. So we'll put that in instead. What we can do here is if we take a stack upgrade and a speed upgrade, that should keep everything topped up pretty well. We could even just do it with a stack upgrade, probably. Yeah, we'll put 2 stack upgrades. Sure. Boom. Full. It'll probably always be full forever now. No worries. We'll just do 1. We don't need to overkill it. We do need uranite in there as well. So you just take any of the raw uranite and smelt it, and you'll get some number of uranite out of it. It's EMCable after that, so there you go. Auto mode is really cool. So basically what this does is once the reactor has 70% of power, it turns off, so it stops burning your fuel. So like that is so cool. It has that automation built in because normally you have to build complex redstone circuitry to make that happen. So we don't have to do that. But as you can see, we're getting some power in this energy cell. I think I maybe need to connect this with the cable. There are these like red ports on the side, or green ports now that it has power, I guess. So I think I maybe need to connect it. Oh, okay. It's right there. Perfect. There we go. So just connect it to one of the faces. I guess I could have put it behind. Yeah, I'll just switch it to behind, I think. Look a little cleaner that way. Oh, yeah. Yay, they can't stack now that they've been placed, which is kind of annoying. But fine. We're going to go ahead and put a flux plug on that so we can supply 50,000 FE a tick. Woo. That's what the niotic tier RF per tick transfer rate is 50,000 from an energy cell, which is quite a bit more than, 5 to 10,000 that you're getting on the blazing tier. So awesome. Solid coolant is almost out, and that's because we're almost out of, we switched the ice or the type of coolant. So I just want to watch this and make sure that it actually refills that bar once it runs out of its stored coolant. Because if it doesn't, I need to swap out the blue ice for regular ice and just deal. Oh, yep, it took it, and it did lower the temperature. So it's at minus 17 degrees as opposed to minus 5 degrees C. So in theory, it should be running even more efficient now, which is good, I guess. All right, let's take a look. So now we should have some more power in our system. I shouldn't have to worry about our computer turning off again for the foreseeable future. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish upgrading our energizing rods to the next tier. And then we are going to basically build one of each type of reactor. So I want to build, we have the hardened reactor. We're going to build a blazing reactor. We're going to build a niotic reactor. We're going to build a spirited reactor. And we're going to build a nitro reactor. We're going to have one of each type, all connected into the power network via flux networks. And we're going to have just so much power capacity. We will be able to do whatever we want to do for the rest of the series without really needing to expand power. But since we've laid out the automation infrastructure via refined storage, we can always build another reactor whenever we want at whatever size, RF per tick generation and out IO range that we desire. So if we only need 1 million, we can just pull out a starter reactor. But let's say we need maybe 10 million range. We could pull out like a hardened reactor and be good. Or not a hardened reactor, but a niotic reactor or something like that. Whatever. Anyway, hopefully that makes sense. Pretty good. Let's go ahead and swap the charcoal for coal. That might make a difference for us. I'm just going to put the stack in myself. It'll make it go faster. But yeah, that'll run out of its stored. You might be able to use redstone blocks instead of just regular redstone, but I don't care about that. It's not a big deal in my mind. Let's take a look. So this plug, we can disable the limit now because we should be pumping enough power we can keep these batteries topped off. We should have a power surplus in the network right now because the big reactor downstairs is enough to basically power the refined storage network that we have. So whatever this reactor is providing to the network is simply excess that can be used by our energizing rods and other machines that we're not using right now. So like I think we're good on power at this point, but I want to build one of every type because why not? We have it automated, so we can. We're going to do 8 spirited energizing rods because that's the final tier, and that will make the creation of the spirited reactor like way faster. Because as you can see, to charge an emerald takes 1,000,000 FE, which is a lot. That is a lot. But what I'm going to do until next time is I'm going to go ahead and let our refined storage system build, one of each reactor, build those energizing rods like we started crafting away, and we're going to scale up our power system for next time. Let me know in the comment section what you want to see me work on in the next episode. But until then, this has been Lone Debater 7 playing Project Architect, and we will see ya!